Hello, everybody. Louise Riley here, and I would like to take you through the product of the month for January. And as you can see from the screen, the product or products of the month is actually going to be the DX4, our body balancing system, as well as two of the products that come within that. That is our Forever Plant Protein and also the Forever Sensatiable. 2025, here we are in 2025, just around the corner, and it's a new year. And when we have a new year, it is a great way to draw a line in the sand, and you might say start again in lots of different ways. It's time to reset, renew, and rejuvenate. And it's a time that we can rebalance our mind as well as our body, and addressing and at 360 degrees. When we're talking about 360 degrees, there's actually three different kinds of energy that we have in the body. And I'm sure that you are aware of two particular ones that we talk about a lot of the time. The first one is physical energy. Physical energy is where we are being active, we're doing sport, we're doing exercise, we're getting our body moving. The other kind of energy comes from our diet, from our food, from nutrients, and that is chemical energy or biochemicals. Chemicals are biochemicals, our body's natural energy that it runs on, and we only get that through what we choose to eat, through our diets. But then maybe there's one that you haven't thought about, and that is mental energy, the energy that we get that comes from our brain and goes to our nervous system. When we think about that energy, I want you to think about a tree, an upside down tree. And that is where we have the root of the tree, which is the root ball, where that is absorbing lots of the nutrients, and without those nutrients, then the tree wouldn't be able to survive. From that, it then goes into the trunk of the tree. And then you have the branches and the twigs and the leaves. And that tree is a bit like our upside down trees, like our brain. And then you have our central nervous system, which is like the trunk of the tree. And then all the different nerves that are going through our body, like the branches, our nerve endings, are like the twigs. And then from the outside world, our senses, our touch, our taste, our sight, our hearing, and our smell, all of those things are like the leaves on the tree. So that is our nervous system and our brain, and that's the mental energy that helps everything work. So when we're talking about our brain, it is our supercomputer. And like that tree, the upside down tree, the image of that, our supercomputer is actually influencing all the 10 systems of the body. So all our systems of the body include things like our immune system, our respiratory system, our digestive system, our cardiovascular system, our hormonal system, just to name a few of those. And so it's really important when we're thinking about energy that we want to reset and renew and rebalance, that we're also focusing on how we think and how we feel, because that will give us that 360 degree total energy. I want to ask you a question. Who do you think would be interested in rebalancing the body and the mind? Well, some might come to play straight away, and you might think, okay, I'm thinking about just generally my friends and my family. People are feeling a little bit out of sorts, they want to re-energize. But let's kind of break it down into some other kind of groups. First of all, who do you know who are into doing sports? Who do you know that are into more competitive sports, gymnasts, jockeys, boxing, etc.? What about in the workplace, where people are feeling like fuzzy-brained or feeling overwhelmed or maybe stressed, and they just feel like they want to be reconnected? So people that work in offices, people that are sitting at desks working hard. What about people that are shift workers, medical, airline, and even going into the younger demographic that really want to have influence on how they're thinking, gamers, students, influencers, parents that are racing around and having to think about their children and their children's needs, carers, grandparents, everyone, men and women, age related, health related. So don't just always think it is someone specifically maybe wanting to reset and renew from the energy of what they're eating. And we all know that a lot of people are thinking, I'd like to kind of like lose a few pounds. It's also thinking about our mental wellness as well. So how does it work? Well, the DX4, as we said, has been created to be working around a 4-day body balancing system. And it has a whole array of nutrients that I'm going to come and talk about in a little while. So it's been designed to look after all the needs of your body while you're working on making changes to your mindset and tweaking some of the habits. So what you will do on each day, you will also not just kind of look at what you're eating or not eating and drinking and taking the supplements, but also you'll be set some little tasks of doing some written work, thinking about things, writing down, journaling. And it's quite simple to follow because every day there will be those like little tasks set for you to complete. And it really is important that you complete those and don't just focus specifically on making sure you're taking the supplements every day and looking at the food that you will be eating, but also working on making those journaling or making those little changes and writing down things, because that is really making sure you're working on the brain. You'll also be given a few ideas about doing breathing exercises just to kind of calm yourself from within. What is the program based on? The program is based on having a reset. But when we're talking about a reset, what are we actually resetting? We're resetting everything. Our body wants to reset as a metabolic reset. That is how the body actually works. So there is an actual system that takes place within the body. It's a natural process and it's called autophagy. Some people will call it autophagy. So whatever works for you, autophagy or autophagy, it's a natural process. It's really interesting. You maybe want to go and research it yourself. But in very, very simple terms, it's a form of housekeeping. This is where your body will kind of be triggered by what you're making a few changes around into cleaning out the body, having the housekeepers in, and having a clean out, having a sort out, even having a recycling. And a recycling is damaged parts of cells and reusing components of them. And this all helps to regenerate newer, healthier cells. So making sure that the body isn't wasting energy on old, worn out cells. Because our body wants to work and run on smart energy. When we are going through this metabolic reset, it's also giving our body time out from having to be pushing and working and overworking and overloading itself. And also, how we get into this state is by making a few changes, a few little reductions in the kind of food that we're eating, the kind of fuel that our body is running on. Our body normally runs on glucose. So what you'll be doing is reducing down your glucose intake. And by reducing your glucose intake down on the foods that you're taking in, it will force your body to flick the switch on the fuel it will run on, and it will start to run on some stored fat within your body. That is what happens when you go through this natural process. Now, a metabolic reset takes approximately 4 days. And in this 4 days, this is what will be happening. Day one, you will start to get into the process of transitioning. transitioning into, oh, I want to start to make some changes in my body. But how do you do that? By actually reducing down what you're taking in with your fuel supply, the glucose. As your glucose supply starts to deplete and your body starts to use up any glucose that you may have stored, it will then go, oh, I need fuel to run on. Where am I going to get this fuel from? And it will start to use the stored fat around your body. So the energy is switching on day 2. Then on day 3, the reset is starting to commence. And then on day 4, your body is starting to rebalance. So the whole process of autophagy takes approximately 48 hours. So you may say that on day 3 and day 4, in this particular scenario here, your body would have gone through that process of change in that 48 hours on day 3 and day 4. Getting back to the DX4, what do you get within the pack? You get actually 7 different supplements, but I want you to think about them as all one big supplement that has been chopped into 7 bits. And that's really important to think like that, because it is important to take all of them, and it is important to take them at the times it is recommended by following the program. You get our Forever Aloe Drinking Gel. You also get a blister pack that contains 3 different ones: the Forever Therm, which supports your energy. We also have the Duo Pure, which is supporting your liver health, amongst other things as well. And then also the Multi-Fizz, that has lots of vitamin C's. It tastes really nice. You put it into water, you can put it into your aloe drinking gel, and that's also supporting lots of systems in the body, including your energy, etc. And then we have this little one at the bottom, the Forever Lemon Blast. That's the one that you would take at night time, and that contains magnesium. It's quite a sharp tasting little drink that you can have cold, but you can also have it hot if you like that. And then that leaves us with the Forever Plant Protein and the Forever Sensationable. And I just like to now highlight those 2 individually, because of course part of what we're doing in January is the focus of the products is also those as individual items. But before we get onto those, I just want to talk about hormones and hunger. There are 2 hormones that have a big role with how we feel in our hunger. These are called leptin and ghrelin. Now, first of all, ghrelin, this is something that is produced within our gastrointestinal tract. And we also have leptin, which is produced from our fat cells or our adipose cells. Now, you can see at the top of the picture, there is that kind of seesaw. And when you have a high amount of ghrelin, of this hormone, a high amount of this hormone, then you're going to feel hungry. When it is tipped the other way and you have a higher amount of leptin has been produced, then you're going to feel satisfied. You're going to feel full. You're going to have a sense of satiety. So wouldn't it be great if we could have an effect on these 2 hormones? And that is to reduce down the amount of ghrelin that is being produced, and to make sure there is more leptin. So what we want to do is kind of make sure that we are not feeling hungry, but also we are feeling more satisfied. So with that thought in process, I want to introduce you to the Forever Sensationable. Now, the Forever Sensationable is a fantastic product that you can take, not just when you're on the DX4, but you can take it on a day-to-day basis. So this contains oats, which are nutrient dense, packed full of fiber, protein, and also minerals. We also have this really, really important ingredient called protein hydrolysate. And this, we can say that it's peptides, is derived from baker's yeast. Now, there has been lots of research done around this very, very super important ingredient that we have in the Sensatiable. And on top of that, we want to make sure it tastes nice. So the nice sweet taste, in fact, people say it tastes of like lemon cheesecake, comes from the dry honey powder. And then we have important fats, medium chain triglycerides, MCTs, and these come from coconuts. That also is giving your body some important, easy fats to be able to use as fuel. And then we have glucomannan. This is another dietary fiber. Now, if you imagine fiber, and then when it is in contact with water, it's going to expand. And this comes from elephant yam. Very importantly, it has the ability to absorb 50 times its own weight in water, and it will go through the body, this fiber, and digest it. So this is going to support your feeling of fullness. But I do actually want to just go back to the protein hydrolysate and say, go and do some research about that. You can chew up to 8 tablets a day, and it is really important every time that you have the tablets that you are drinking at least 240 mils of water for every 2 to 3 tablets that you're having, because that is when the magic will happen, and your body's going to thank you for taking the Sensatiable because of how it's going to support your body, and to kind of to rebalance how we are feeling with those hormones. And the final product that I want to talk about is the Forever Plant Protein. This is packed with 17 grams of protein per serving, and it is a vegan formula. It's also dairy and soy free, and it contains 2 important proteins. One comes from pea, and this contains all 9 essential amino acids, which we know amino acids are the building blocks of protein in the body. And this is important to support the maintenance of your muscle mass and your normal bones. And then we will also have pumpkin protein. And this is also going to support your muscle mass and your normal bones. This is actually derived from your pumpkin seeds and are also known to contain healthy fat. So what you're doing here is having a shake that you can have on a day-to-day basis. You can add it into your regime. You could decide you want to have this alongside taking the Forever Light Ultra Shake as part of your maintenance. If people are looking for a high protein shake, this is the one. You can include more protein in the shake by having soya milk, because that has a high amount of protein if you want to keep it so it is vegan friendly. If you're not too bothered about that, then obviously you can mix it with cow's milk. It contains a high amount of insoluble fiber, fructooligosaccharides. Insoluble fiber is also great fiber for food for your digestive systems, healthy bacteria. Contains aloe vera powder, and finally the lovely sweetness comes from plant-based stevia as well as natural vanilla. So I really hope that you found that of interest, and you're super excited to get the DX4, also to try the Forever Plant Protein and the Forever Sensatiables separately. Thank you very much for listening.